What's up, everybody? It's Robert Phoenix broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg, Texas. What's going on out there? It's another day in the Matrix. How's everybody feeling about their Matrix-like experience today? Are we having a fun time? Sorry, I'm a little on the cynical side today. Good morning, good morning. I'm just waiting for the 25 to 30 loyal people who show up every day here. It's a good crew. Thank you for showing up, so that we can amass at least 300 to 400 people that will listen to this stream by the end of the day today. So let's get into it. Let's just jump right into this. Jeffrey Epstein has been arrested, as we have talked about and gone over ad infinitum. It's going to be like, where do we go from here? Okay, there's 1,000 channels out there that are going to be giving you Epstein news, Epstein stories, Epstein takes, Epstein. Apparently, William Barr's father decided to employ Epstein at one point in time as a teacher for a school in Manhattan. Apparently Epstein's really good with numbers, physics, calculus, all that shit, right? So William Barr's father employed Epstein. I guess if you put the two together, you get Epstein Barr. That's supposed to be a bit of a joke. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk more about the social implications versus the actual who did, done what's happening, what's going on sort of behind the scenes. It's going to be political volleyball. I'm just telling you right now. I mean, this thing's going to get battered back and forth. Now, what was really interesting is I was on a YouTube channel that's sponsored by the Miami Herald. And the Miami Herald is one of the newspapers that is behind this kind of, taking the can opener and opening the can back up for the Epstein thing. I'm not sure why this is for the Epstein thing. This says I feel a little weird. Yeah, I feel a little weird too, to be honest with you, for different reasons. I do feel a little weird. I'm not sure why I'm not showing up over on YouTube. Why is that not happening? I'm sitting there watching the Please Stand By. I'm hoping that I'm actually streaming live on YouTube. Let me try another YouTube channel just to find out. Let me see what I got going on my channel. And live now. That's me, live now. There we go. I can see myself. You can see Jasper. I can see Jasper. Okay, everything's good. Just wasn't getting the visual. And if I do, oh, look at that. I can skip ahead to the live broadcast. I just learned something new. How about that? Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein doesn't have a college degree. What a great example for not having a college education, right? Yes, even mastermind pedophiles. I think Jeffrey Epstein is probably like a polymath or something like that. Oh, a stain on my shirt. I don't like that. I think he's a polymath, right? He's able to do things. I think he's able to do things with numbers, money. I think he plays a significant role in. I think Jeffrey Epstein is a total fixer. He's a total fixer. He's got math skills. He has absolutely no morals. He has a healthy sexual appetite. He's able to connect with Ghislaine Maxwell, who hooks him up with the Mossad and MI6. So I think he's a pretty pivotal point. And I think there is obviously a lot more to Jeffrey Epstein than just procuring young girls. That's my take. and that he was probably being used for a number of his so-called skills and abilities to make these programs, whether it's money laundering, whether it's extortion, whether it's the procurement of underage girls. He was being used, and I wouldn't say he was a front man per se, because I think the guy's probably pretty bright. I mean, even if you don't have accreditation, you cannot teach physics and geometry and higher levels of math at a private school in New York City unless you know what you're doing. That's my 2 cents on that. So I think Epstein is probably a fairly pivotal person when it comes to these three operations: money laundering, extortion, and procurement of underage children. Now, where do we go from here? Who's going to control the narrative? That's the big piece. That is the big piece, because I went to the Miami Herald's YouTube channel, and they talked about the players, right? The big players that are, where are they now in the Epstein case? Where are these big players? Well, when you look at the list of people, they're somewhat, how do I say this, less than startling in some ways. Like Ghislaine Maxwell's in there, Ghislaine, however you say her name. Dershowitz is in there. Some guy named Lefko. I mean, there's some Witzes. There's more than a few Witzes in there. But who's not in there are people like Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. None of those people are in there. Okay, so, where are we? Are we at a place where it's a 5D chess game and they're not going to show their hand? Is that what's happening? And that the Clintons are eventually going to be, brought up and do the perp walk? Is that what's going to happen? Because based on what the Miami Herald is showing in terms of its cards, the cards aren't all that impressive, to be honest with you. They're not that impressive. Let me change my settings here really quickly. We're at 5G. Gotta love 5G. So, where do we go from here? What's going to happen? How is this thing going to get parsed out? Especially if with Maureen Comey, not Mueller, Maureen Comey is running the show, or at least part of the prosecution team. Here's what Paulette says: Google bioinformatics, Epstein-connected companies based on the science of biology, math, to program people. Bioinformatics also used for health. There we go. There we go. There's another Epstein thing going on. His dad hired J.E. for the prestigious Dalton School. Yeah, that's right. Barr's father fired from Dalton. So, yep, that's right. So when you get Epstein and Barr together, you get Epstein-Barr. It's a little bit of a joke. So I think the real story is now, who is going to control the narrative? It's out there. He's out there. It's kind of a big deal. Is the left going to control the narrative and go after Trump? There's already some intimations that that's happening. Trump was giving a speech, I believe, last night, and a young woman got up in the crowd and had a Virginia Roberts and Trump poster. Virginia Roberts is another person that shows up in the Miami Herald's report on YouTube. And Virginia Roberts is the person who's most closely linked to Donald Trump. So it's going to be interesting to see who controls the narrative around Epstein. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Epstein as he's behind bars. Not to be confused with the two Barrs that he knows, William Barr and his father, those are different Barrs. I'm talking prison bars. What else we have going on in the chat room today? Morning, everyone. Good morning, morning, morning. J.E. was a pedo pimp. Yeah, he was a pedo. He had a lot going on. I think Epstein had a lot going on. He was a point person. How do you become a billionaire? How do you become a billionaire if you are basically a high school dropout, or you haven't finished college, you don't have a degree? How do you become a billionaire working at a school, at a prestigious school, the Dalton School in Manhattan? You become a millionaire because you have an innate gift. And the innate gift is the ability to use math and figures and projections and money. So in that regard, Epstein is a bit of a wizard. I bet he's on the Asperger's side of things. I bet he's on the spectrum. I would not be surprised if that was the case. So he was employed, and he made people a lot of money, and in turn he was given quite a bit of money. He had his own private jet, for Christ's sakes. You know, he had extremely powerful people backing him, and he was doing business for them. It wasn't just getting young girls or young boys. It was extortion. I would not be surprised if there was also drugs involved. I think Epstein is the Gordian knot. He's the Gordian knot, and if you cut it, it all comes undone. Now, if the left is using Epstein to further its political agenda, it could get suicidal for them. Because there are enough people on their side of the black book ledger sheet that it would look really, really bad. Really bad. So this is a nuclear strategy. That's my take on it. It's totally nuclear, and they're willing to kind of blow this thing up if they get Trump. It's kind of like fishing with dynamite. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna catch a bunch of fish, but it's gonna be ugly. There's gonna be guts and gills and bones and blood everywhere. But you'll accomplish your goal, which is to get fish. You're just using the wrong kind of the wrong tool, the wrong weapon. Although I think that's the strategy. Clearly, I think that's the strategy, and they're willing to risk what might happen as they go all in. Epstein is the pushing the chips all in for the left. Now, for the right, people are saying, well, this is all completely controlled. The right has this, or the people that are inside the White House, the white hats, whoever you think the good guys are, you know, Q or whoever, right? Oh, they've got this. They've been planning this, and this is it. This is the big one. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how all of this unfolds. I think Trump is in a precarious position. I don't care if you're sold, 100% sold on the fact that they've got this. If they've got this, then they better figure it out pretty fucking quick. And they better execute on Jeffrey Epstein very quickly. Like, we can't have this lingering for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. It cannot happen. It cannot happen. If we are involved in the Epstein case for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, I guarantee you this country will not recover from it. There's going to have to be justice that'll be executed promptly around Epstein. And hopefully all the right people are the ones that are ultimately charged and then dealt with. But there's no guarantee with that. There's no guarantee whatsoever. This thing is going to get hot. It's going to get white hot. You're going to hear a lot about Virginia Roberts. There's going to be a lot of accusations around Trump and Epstein. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get very ugly. So, meanwhile, they evacuated the China Lake facility in California. They evacuated everybody. They're all gone. They're all out of there. So one of the things that I had heard about the China Lake facility is that there's also a nuclear reactor under there. And there are some thoughts that that nuclear reactor was breached, which is one of the reasons why the explosions occurred. The two explosions and the two earthquakes occurred. In any case, all the personnel has been completely evacuated from the China Lake area. They're all up in, I think, Ventura now. And I think it was a significant amount of people. I think about 5,000 people are at that base. And we know a little bit about what goes on there, but there's a lot that we don't know. But it was a major event. And the LA Times has been talking about it and kind of reaffirming that people are okay. They got everybody out, right? So the base is really the epicenter of this earthquake activity. Yeah, we have to wonder, did they trigger some other kind of earthquake activity that's latent? Are we going to get another quake? Are there more aftershocks coming? I would say probably yes, because that's how this stuff works. That's how it works. Now, Dutch Sins has predicted that there could be a 7.8 earthquake in the next week to 10 days, somewhere between San Diego and San Francisco. 7.8 is a lot. That's a big earthquake, really big earthquake. We'll see what happens. I do think there's going to be another quake. I don't know if it'll be in the sevens, but each successive quake has gotten bigger. But if they're not detonating or there's no conflict going on underneath the surface of the Mojave Desert, then it will certainly have to be the remnants of those two blasts and the aftershocks and the attendant quake that comes in. Let's see what's going on. Epstein bar, you like my joke? That's good. Mysterium of language. How do you highlight a name in a chat? I don't know. I feel the landscape 1 year from today will be extremely different. I agree, Charles. I agree, Charles. I agree with you. I think we're headed. This next eclipse, remember, we got another eclipse coming up on the 16th of July. I think it's a big one. This last one, I think, was really powerful. I enjoyed it myself. But I don't know about this next eclipse. This next eclipse, remember, the image is pulling apart, splitting apart, and separation. There's a lot of heavy-duty separation coming up with this eclipse. And these eclipses are really potent because we're dealing with eclipses around the moon's nodes. And so the eclipses are potentiated. They're more powerful. This is my take on it when they are connected to the moon's nodes. The ascending plane is in the sign of Cancer, which is, of course, ruled by the moon, and the descending plane is in the sign of Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. So we're dealing with lunar and Saturnian forces. Darkness, madness, lunacy, intuition, and Capricorn, order, discipline, structure, oligarchs, hierarchies, totalitarianism. People tend to be a bit more emotional now with this true node in Cancer, don't you think? I was reading about this Detroit music festival, Afro Future, and they had this tiered pricing where if you were white, you had to pay more money. Your ticket was $40, and if you were non-white, your ticket was $20. It's a sign of things to come, the shape of things. I was in Mexico one time, and I realized that there were two prices for beers at this bar that I went to in Mexico. There were the local prices, and then there were the non-local prices. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the Detroit Music Festival. You know, and this is really funny because they got called out for it, and they said due to the fact that we are wary and we don't want to open ourselves up to the hate of white nationalists, we're going to rescind our pricing structure. That's such bullshit. That is such bullshit. You know what that is? That is a way to reaffirm your tenuous bullshit position and still hang on to your victimhood, and then virtue signal at at 10, at level 10. Total bullshit. Weak ass move. Why can't people just say, we thought about it and we realized that it's not a really appropriate pricing structure for the event, and we want all people to equally afford or be able to come to this event. Why can't somebody just do that? You can't do that now. Now there's always got to be this out. And the out is, oh, we've got to keep the white nationalists away, or we've got to keep the neo-Nazis away. So in order to do that, we're going to go back to our original pricing plan. That's such bullshit. It's so fucking weak. Just so weak. What do we have down here? It says, a huge natural disaster of the grid going down would neutralize the drain of the swamp. The other thing that I think that we have to be also conscious and aware of is that Trump has not played ball with the neocons and the Ziocons and the Chabaticons. He hasn't played ball with them, and he's not gone to war in Iran. So I have to also wonder if this would be some kind of a squeeze to get Trump to commit troops or throw some heavy-duty shade at Iran. Like, start blowing shit up. Would they force it? Would this be the thing that would force him to do that? Question mark. What do you guys think? What do you think? Let's see. What else do we have? Q post justice no longer blind to those with billions. Okay, well, good. Do you know who is sitting on the case in Florida? Do you know who's going to adjudicate the Floridian side of that case? It's a judge that was appointed by Bill Clinton and sent Dinesh D'Souza to jail. Okay, there's a Clinton judge involved ultimately will be involved in the prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. I just wonder if they have enough real judges that can adjudicate this stuff. And look, I'm just telling you right now. Let's play this thing out. Let's say, for instance, Q is right. Okay? Let's say, for instance, Q is right. And let's just say in fairy tale land, all the perps that we know, the Ehud Baraks and the Bill Clintons and the Hillary Clintons and the Prince Andrews and all these turds, the Alan Dershowitz, he's a turd. Let's say they all wind up being prosecuted and they wind up doing time. What do you think the so-called left and the progressives are going to do? Do you think they're just going to take that lying down? Do you think they're just going to say, oh, poor us? I don't think so. I really, really, really don't think so. Because inasmuch as their prosecution, which I'm in favor of, by the way, I'm not saying I'm not, it will elicit a shitstorm. There'll be a big shitstorm. There's going to be a big shitstorm either way. I don't think they can just bury Jeffrey Epstein. I don't think this is going to happen. Maybe they'll get a few kind of low-hanging rotten apples, maybe. But this could be the event that really splits this country right in two. That's my sense. So just be advised of that. Be prepared. Be ready. As always, keep your powder dry. I'm always a fan of having at least 30 to 90 days worth of storables in your place for anything, any kind of a natural disaster. I think it's important. So let's sit back and let's watch the theater of the absurd and the surreal unfold before our very eyes. What else do we have here in the chat? Profusely denying involvement. Yes, of course he is. Feel like this is just a show. No big fish will actually go down. Anna brings up a really good point around that. And it could be just a big show. Absolutely. Could be. They may get a few rotten apples, and they may force Trump to go drop some bombs in Iran. And that could be the case. But if it does proceed and unfold in the way that we think it will, this thing will be highly flammable. Highly, highly flammable. Okay. I've got about 3 minutes left, so I'm going to get out of here. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to accept what's possible, and keep your faith. Remember, the hallmark of mastery is the ability in your life to deal with impatience and ambiguity. And if you can master impatience and ambiguity, you will be leagues ahead of your fellow brothers and sisters. And perhaps then you may be able to teach that to them as well. Have a great day. This is Robert Phoenix, and I am signing off.